And of course, that brings us to the salesXchange operating system. So the first thing to say is that it's not SaaS. It's local web and a telemetry server on premise, and partly in the cloud, but it's web servers. It's not marketing automation, SEO, social media, or content marketing or anything like that. It's the entire B2B workflow every one of us has always known, inside out. But it's designed into a centralized, consolidated operating system that enables and orchestrates everything we as B2Bs have always needed. But I would say we have been too blinkered up to now by big tech, MarTech, and their advocates to realise what was actually being, it's a bit harsh, but what's actually being done to us and our businesses. And I mean that, done to us. So if you look at this, a bit difficult for those who are listening on podcast, because that, and even for you might need to put this onto a larger screen if you're looking at this, but I'll read through it. Okay, I'll read through it. We have 4 main engines and 2 specific layers, and I'll go through them. First of all, we start at SX Reach, and that's a market and visibility engine. Okay, and we talked about that with social and email and banners. Next is Live, is a broadcast authority engine. So as a result of your efforts communicating outbound, where do they go? Anonymously? Currently nowhere, but with this, anybody can look and watch and get to know, like, and trust you in their time and in catch up, but they can see you live. That's why I do this live. This is properly live. Yeah, it's be very easy to. I mentioned this kind of a few times. It's very easy to say, do you know what? Let's just do a video, because if it goes pear shaped, we can sort it out in editing before we actually push it out to the customers or to the big wide world, the thousands of people that watch it. What's the point in that? Anybody can knock out of it. I say anybody. Video's a video. Live is authentic. You know, you wouldn't spill your drink. You'd edit that out. So we've got this live. You've got you know me by now. I do go off at a bit of a tangent. So we've got this broadcast authority engine, and so that's your live shows. But we set up live shows, the live show studio in your office. So if you've got space, because you've got people working from home, if you've got space, would you take one of the offices, convert it into a studio, and then you can reach your hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of your total addressable market every week. Happy days. Okay. But we also, and I'll come on to that, how that we set up the remote studios for your salespeople, and that relates specifically to SX Connect. Now, SX Connect is I have to get this right, is the buyer orchestration engine. Okay, it's one of those things that that we as salespeople, business people, CEOs, and so on have always wanted, which is a mechanism that can reach out and communicate to our enormous market, show them, present to them who we are, what we do, and so on, without anybody's involvement, to make ourselves attractive enough that they will come and watch us and get to know us, like us, and trust us. And when that trigger happens that I talked about before, they go, I'm going to speak to you. I want to get in touch with you. And you give them this mechanism that enables them to do that. I'll show you exactly in a minute. but that's what we've always wanted. And to have the ability to literally sit back and you go, oh look, more appointments, is having been in sales for 40 years, I know, oh look, an appointment, another one, oh there's another one, how interesting, look forward to speaking to them. It's special. I think that's all I can say. I'm going to come back onto that, but for the rest of this, the rest of the NU, so we've got Connect, which is the buyer orchestration. Then we've got Ops, which is the revenue telemetry. So every single thing you're doing, absolutely everywhere, no matter where it is corralled, is consolidated into the Ops. I'm going to mention it again in a second. We've got Hub and the Course. Course stands for Make Sense, and the Hub is an operational intelligence layer that's integrated with LLMs. So to show you how easy this is, the first phase of getting your data out to people, because we're talking about orchestration and kind of how do we manage this. You have your track input information, 3 text files generated by LLMs, just a text file, simple text file, plus your 2 image layers we talked about, produces that. Okay, that's the objective, produces that information there, and you can see that's what we're going for, which is the multiple posts. Once you've uploaded your information, it brings you to this screen, which you look to generate, and you can see the image on the right. There's our post. Constructs the post like I showed before. Big green button at the bottom processes it, constructs the image and uploads it to a library, and is posted out 1 per day until you stop it. Could be simpler. You can produce 20 of them. That'll take you a couple of days. And your exposure just goes through the roof. So, the whole thing about this is that we have to talk about these in kind of almost in these segments, these sections, these engines, these modules, because they make up the whole. Okay, and I think that I just want to move something along a second to bear with me on this. Constructed, dum dum dum. Okay, so this is one of the problems. So you can have all this technology, and you can say, right, well, you can talk about it, and you want it to be naturally. You're looking at the screen, and you got there's lots of things going on. You go, I've missed my place. Where was I? Because there's lots of things. This right now, what I'm saying right now, not scripted. Of course, they're not scripted. There are other things, because you need to keep. You need to be kept on track to it as best as possible. So we get to the right point, and the prompter thing. The prompter kind of just keeps me on track of what's coming up next. If I go off piste and stop and then keep talking and move the slides forward, it's like, oh, what have I done? But the point is now is that we've got this situation, which is the let me stop. I'll get back on track now. I just showed you the information for social. So we've got this information going, we've got the constructed images. Almost identical process for emails and banners. Okay, but it's actually more simple. So they're slightly more ad hoc if you want them to be, as opposed to it just working on autopilot, because with social you're sending them out every single day and so on. So the next stage is live, and what we've got with live is what we're doing now. And like I said, in your case, we would set up a studio in your offices as long as you've got space, and if not, we'd organise a studio, one of our studios, or one that might be local to you. But I mean, that's the easy part. And we'd set up your remote studio with your salespeople so they can maintain delivery, the same level of professionalism that you are demonstrating at your office studio. And the reason for them having a remote studio is because of this next stage. So this is SX Connect. So at this point, so you imagine that you're generating a significant amount of exposure and visibility. And the most effective way to maintain momentum, obviously, is to capture your prospect whenever they're ready. So not just when they're watching you, but if they're on their website, on your website. And at whatever time they're engaging with you, because no one's going to, they're not going to do it between 9 and 5. It's whenever it suits them. So you've got this our form process, it's basically discovery data. I mean, these are the kind of questions on the discovery data that anybody would ask at their first meeting, but we do it in advance because it saves everyone's just loads of time. But it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing spectacular. It just cuts down the time you need to question your prospect when you first meet them. Like, what are you doing, how much you're doing, what roughly what are you spending, and so on. So that's the first stage. So these people, these prospects have said, okay, we like you, we want to talk to you. So once they complete the form, they can book a meeting with anyone in your team. And the system will schedule the meeting based upon location, availability, expertise, and so on. And it's at that point, that the system, the operating system, carries out research on the company, on the individual, generates the proposal, generates a cost comparison, generates a slide deck, notifies the salesperson, having booked a meeting in their diary, and it's delivered all of the meeting documentation as well. So none of your team ever have to get behind, no matter how many meetings are booked. And you can see this is designed by a salesperson because I know how long it takes. And then there's this. This is the executive view, which shows you all you'd want to know at a glance. So you can see the metrics like social, email. We've got social, email, banner, and live. And those 4 critical things, activities, lead to meetings booked, proposals generated, quotes sent out, and finally, ta-da, pipeline value, pipeline movement, and what the value is up to for that week or that month. I mean, I love it. Just what is there not to love about this? Just amazing. Just amazing. And then you've got the ops. You've got the ops. So you have to have your telemetry. You need to know what's happening for everything, and depending on which modules you want, we just pull this data in. So you've got this exposure on multiple platforms, so you can understand the visibility you're actually achieving. From the engagement to downloads to watch time to the actual meetings booked and so on, right the way through to pipeline generation. So there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it on the market. It's all script driven. It's not AI. It's script driven. there's a little bit of AI involved, but and the thing is like I said before, it's, you know, rather than looking at trying to what typically happens with analytics is looking at all these disparate Google GA4 stuff. It's like, show me the money. That's what this is about. You want to know, you know, what are we doing? How well is it going? And like I said before, the kind of the fascinating thing about this is it's not a new invention. Nothing's new's been invented per se to make all this happen. The platforms exist, the analytics already exist, telemetry already exists, tracking already exists. The only thing that's changed is the decision to look at B2B sales through the lenses of market visibility rather than the lenses of campaign activity.